Hello, everybody. I'm Pete Bollinger, and I'm here with a very, very special guest today on Breaking Bread. This is Ramon Mundo Mendoza. Most of you on this channel know Ramon, and we're gonna get into his life story here. It's gonna be a little different than normally you would see in an interview. I have a lot of different kind of questions for Ramon. And what would you prefer to be called, first of all? Mundo, Ramon?
Mundo's fine.
Okay, Mundo. So, um, full disclosure, I was the director of the original Mundo movie, now called Mexican Mafia Assassin, on all the streaming sites. It's actually around the world. And I'm real proud of that movie. And I know Mundo is, as well, as it's a redemption movie, and it has helped lead thousands of people to Christ, and others on their way, planting seeds of redemption. So I know you're really proud of that movie.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but there's a whole new segment. I know we've been talking about doing so the second part of Mundo, the second half of your life, and let's go back a little bit to where you started out. You had an abusive stepfather, correct?
Right.
But you still loved him.
Yes, of course.
Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah. He was typical of many Mexican, or many fathers, not just Mexican. Back in the old days, many of our dads were hard disciplinarians, and so that was Pops. He was a very hardcore guy as far as and of course today they probably would call it abuse, but hey, that's the way the dads rolled back then. And my problem was I rebelled against his authority. So that wasn't necessarily spawned by him. I don't blame him for who I became. I just rebelled. I rebelled. I took my act to the streets, and of course some people will say that he contributed, and that may be true. But at the end of the day, it was my decision. So I'm the one who rebelled against his authority.
And then, so not only his authority, but you rebelled against society in general, and became basically a bad person.
I
Right?
rebelled, yes, against authority in general.
Okay. And then you were so proficient and such a feared gang member that you ended up being asked to join the Mexican Mafia.
Eventually, yes.
Okay. And which is for a gang member, especially a Mexican gang member, it's everything, right?
It was the gang of gangs.
Okay. And so when it's wouldn't it be the ultimate for a gang member to be asked to join this organization?
Yeah, it was the ultimate. It was at the point that I remember that day so distinctly. The day I was made, I felt like I had, if you were a mountain climber, it was like reaching the top of Mount Everest and planting your flag. Because taking a death oath, the only way out of the organization is through the cemetery. All those things were very appealing to me because status is very important to a gang member, and I was caught up with the status. I'm sure it was an identity thing. This is my way of claiming my identity, becoming a gang member, and then reaching the top of the pinnacle. So I was on top of the world, so to speak.
And once you got there, did you find out that you easily navigated? Because it's tough to stay in that organization, right? Because there's a lot of politics and cleansing, internal cleansing, meaning killing and all that goes on.
Well, back in the day, there wasn't that much of that. I think they were very selective in who they got in, and I was a natural leader. By the time I got in, like all of them, they were all leaders of their street gangs, and I became a natural leader and an organizer, if you will, of terror. because in prison that was what we were doing. We were terrorizing. We were prison terrorists, and and I was not only an organizer, and many of the guys who are still alive, they probably won't admit it because in their world they're giving me credit, okay, gang credit, but they know that not only was I an organizer, but I was in the front lines. I was the one performing, and you as a former sergeant you must have an appreciation for your position. I think all sergeants like to be in the front lines, and your fellow officers respect you for that. And the same thing with the Mexican Mafia. I wasn't. There were guys that had more juice than I did, more tenure. The Kilroys of the world, the Robots, the Cheyennes, on and on. And I respected them because they were my elders, but they also respected the fact that I was always in the front line, you know, leading by example, organizing. I had that type of aptitude.
Well, I would say actually that that's one of the reasons for the success of your movie because, you know, in general, what they refer to as a rat, a person that debriefed and you know testified against other carnales and other gang members, is ostracized from their world, right, and put on the lista, as you would call it, the list,
Right.
to be killed or taken out at any moment, any time they have an opportunity. But what we've run across is, I have by a lot of gang members, is like that give you the credibility due because you were so violent and so proficient at the leadership role in which you took in the acts of violence and aggression. So it gave you the credibility for them to even watch the movie,
Right.
which was your ultimate goal because you wanted to witness.
Well, first of all, let me clarify something with regard to what you just said. If I could discredit myself, I'd be the first to want to discredit what I did and who I was, because I'm not proud of what I did nor who I was. I wish I had been a coward or a wimp or fell short of the things, of the violent deeds that I performed. I wish I had something to say about what kind of a wimp I was. But the problem is that I wasn't a wimp. And so, yes, there are people that found the movie credible because of my past reputation, not because I say that I did certain things, but because a lot of these guys knew who I was. And again, I'm not proud of that. I wish that could be erased so that movie would have been a failure because I was a fraud. But the reality is I was not a fraud. I mean, in that world, I was not a fraud. I'm proud that I can be called a snitch, a rat, an informant, an embedded, undercover, whatever they want to call me. I'm good with that. It is what it is. It was what it was. And there's no honor in any of that. So when people call me those kind of names, I recognize who they are. Those are people that are still lost. And I do have empathy for those people. I do pray for those people because I want them out of that world. I would love to see them turn their back on that world. Not because I have anything to gain by that. I do not. But for them.
But a guy, what I'm saying is, and I think we got it together. But in that world, it gives you credibility, and like you said, and if you were a coward or a wimp, it wouldn't be a movie.
And the only reason you're correct, and the only reason that I would even care that the truth is perpetuated, and the fact that I was who I was as a bad guy, and I am who I am now as a good guy, is so that people can see the contrast in who I was and what God did in my life. Not what I did. I didn't do nothing. I got on my knees in a jail cell. I succumbed to the preaching of an 80-some-year-old man. His name was Nathaniel Elrich, and I always say his name with pride. He was an old man that came in, caught me in jail during a time when I was at my worst, at my most evil, and he befriended me. I was bored, listened to him. Before I knew it, I was reading the Bible. I was some of the scriptures just started jumping out at me, and one thing led to another. Remorse, accepting God's forgiveness, which was the hardest part. And before I knew it, I was on my knees in the privacy of my cell, accepting the Lord. Now, what that meant, I had no idea. All I knew is that I bought into that. I did buy into that. I felt Him, and the rest of my life was set because of that. With obstacles, yes. With ups and downs, yes. But it was set, nevertheless.
And that's where it comes to when you were freed and you got out of prison and you were in the witness protection program and testifying against a lot of your former MA brothers. A new life emerged. But
let me tell you, I
please.
sorry to interrupt, but let me tell you something about that. I was supposed to testify in the first RICO, the first Mexican Mafia RICO, as an expert witness. That's what my qualifications were for WITSEC, to get into the U.S. Marshals Federal Witness Program. So a couple of years went by, and I'm on the program, and one of the investigators, I contact him through the marshal's office to find out what the status was of that RICO case. And I was told that I was not going to be used as an expert witness. They were using one of the lead investigators, Sergeant Valdemar from the LA Sheriff's Department. They were using him as the expert witness. I said, oh, okay, cool. I said, he's probably a good choice. So in the meantime, I'll enjoy my little vacation on WITSEC. And I asked, well, can I ask why? What was the reason? And according to this investigator, the U.S. attorney, Nora, who at the time I believe was Nora Manella, she said, her and her group of prosecutors said that if they put me on the stand, that I would make the defendants look like choir boys. And because of the things that they knew that I had done.
Yeah.
And they were going to bring them out. And so I kind of laughed at that because I know that was an exaggeration maybe, because when you combine the deeds of all the defendants, I'm sure that they exceed what I had done. But I did a lot in a small period of time. A lot of cases that are not adjudicated, but I did give them all up to the FBI when they debriefed me. Every single one. It was part of the immunity agreement. And so they know, the fellows knew, and they probably made a good decision, because now the defense attorneys could not go after me that way, and good luck going after Sergeant Valdemar and his integrity.
He's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, one of the best right there.
Yep.
Well, which leads me, so you're out on the witness protection program, and that's where I think people have this idea that everything was roses after that. There's a lot of consequences to your past that you paid for in the second half of your life, so to speak.
Right.
And that's kind of what I want to talk about now is you are considering writing a screenplay, which would be Mundo 2, down the road. I know that's something that you expressed interest in.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people would love to see that and to see the full circle of the second half. But in discussing things with you and over the years, when it wasn't all rosy, so maybe share some of the difficulties of this after the witness, during the witness protection program, and after, and including love lost, and it's hard to maintain a relationship when you have a past. When do you divulge it? Do you not? Do you bring them in? There's so many things that goes in that we never even think about. So if you could share that with us, Mundo.
Yeah, the adjustment for anybody that leaves the life, whether you become an informant or whether you just leave, period, without telling on anybody, it's still you're caught up in a lifestyle with certain patterns. You're brainwashed. You're accustomed to performing in a certain manner in life, and now you have to readjust. And so that is very, very minor in comparison with what the guys who chose that road and to stay that course and are doing life in prison. Now, to me, that's terrible. That's horrible, but it's also unnecessary. So my adjustment, as we're talking about here, was relatively minor in comparison to what other guys are going through. But nevertheless, one of the most difficult things was learning not to respond to adversity in a violent way, in a negative way. And so that I became proud of myself when I had some encounters that I was able to handle without resorting to immediate violence. That was a small task in itself. The fact that I was concerned about getting involved romantically with a woman, and then that would possibly lead to marriage. I didn't want to put anybody in a position where they could become collateral damage. And that's why when I see people on YouTube and they have their family members and they have their faces on YouTube all the time, I think of how selfish some of these people are, and they don't realize it maybe, because you put your face on YouTube. There's many knuckleheads out there that just to gain favor, they think they're gaining favor. They're part of the status movement, which is what a gang member is all about. And to have an encounter with a knucklehead and to place your family in danger, potential danger, I think is unconscionable. I think it's irresponsible. And I know the motives of the hearts of many people that are on YouTube is probably very good, very positive. But I pray for them guys, because I don't want to hear that something has happened to one of them. But I'm afraid that one day I will hear that somebody got whacked as a result of having their mug exposed. And once again, I believe there's more than just you. I cover myself with a mask. Partly for myself. I can take care of myself. As I said once before, my trigger finger isn't broken. But I'm not looking to prove anything to anyone. But I don't want to put myself out there for some knucklehead to have target practice. And more important than all of the above is I don't want to put friends and family in the line of fire. And so that's my reason for doing that. So adjusting. I never got married because I didn't want to put a woman in potential danger. Maybe I was overthinking that, because I did get a new name. I got all my tattoos removed. I had some minor surgery performed. A lot of things. I was self-employed. I was in a profession that was very good to me. Living in the state that I lived, somewhere in the United States, and so I'm grateful for that. I've been able to mentor many people, so there's upsides also to this transition. I think the hardest part is maybe the first couple years of coming over from the dark side, so to speak. You're free. You got Rene Enriquez, boxer. Formerly boxer from Artesia, who will be paroling at some point. Maybe by the time you see this, he's already out on parole. But he'll have a transition to go through as well. I mean, I know he's very intelligent, he's very confident. Some people say he's cocky and arrogant. Well, the boxer I know is a little different. The Renee that I know is a little different. He's humble. He does bear his heart. I do get to talk to him. I have mentored him through the years on a lot of do's and don'ts, and I think he'll discover, or if he hasn't already, that the transition is not that easy, but yet it's good to be free.
Absolutely. The discussion with Mundo Mendoza is one of many to come that will address previously undisclosed questions of what transpired after he left the life of crime and broke away from his Mexican Mafia criminal associates. When future opportunities present themselves, I will pose other introspective questions that have never been talked or written about by Mundo. Many of these topics of interest will be expounded upon in the second Mundo movie coming soon. Stay tuned for an upcoming exclusive interview with Mundo titled Up Close with Mundo. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to support us by hitting the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up, share this channel with your friends and colleagues, and feel free to leave your feedback in the comments section. There is a lot more to come, and we look forward to you reaching back to us and listening to our channel. Thank you.